under my iron skin. Got no rules or discipline under my iron skin. Under my iron skin.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to the Countdown to Infinity here on the After Credits cast. We were told there'd be a house party. Instead, it's just a podcast. Today, I have Erich Killian. Thank you. That's me. And with me today, I have the terrorist. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because I could put him on a blacklist. I have the Midorian. I can't pronounce it. I'm trying to combine two names that are really hard to pronounce just without thinking about it.
Well, I will applaud the attempt.
Are fortune cookies real, Ryan? I have no idea.
Fortune cookies are actually an American invention, like a cheap knockoff. This is my best Midorian impression.
You do a good job. You do a good job. So welcome. Today is Iron Man 3, a very controversial film in the MCU. Not for the same reasons as other films will be controversial, but we'll get to those at a later date. Doctor Strange. But this week, Iron Man 3. Let's go over some stats real quick before we break down and have some fun. I have a release date of May 3rd in 2013. Iron Man's a typically May month affair. The director is not Jon Favreau this time. He took a step down for Shane Black, who was also known for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Robert Downey Jr.'s first movie he did after coming out of rehab. So,
oh wow, I didn't know that actually.
Yep. So Shane Black is experienced with Robert Downey Jr. and he's actually not a bad actor. Director. If you go back to some of his other work, he actually has a pretty good repertoire. He's got something coming out soon that I can't remember what it is, but it looked really interesting. And I'm gonna kick myself when I hear it, but I'm pretty sure he's got something coming soon that looks good. The writers are also Shane Black, but also Drew Pearce. And this movie stars our usual Iron Man crew, but I'm gonna read them off anyway. I got Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Jon Favreau, and our newcomers are Guy Pearce, Ben Kingsley, and more, because I didn't write down any of their names. I'm sure there's some names that are important to somebody out there. I am sorry, everybody, but I was writing down names in a hurry. Let's go over our box office numbers. So, it opened with $174,144,000. Domestically, it earned a total of $409,013,000. This would be the second movie in the Marvel Universe to break the billion mark at $1.214 billion.
Damn.
As of 2013, it was number 2 of that year. Ryan, do you want to guess what it was behind?
For that year?
2013.
What else? What came out that year? I'm rusty on my movie trivia. What was the second behind?
Well, I'll tell you what was third behind it, if it'll give you help. The third movie that year was Frozen.
Huh.
Above them both, Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Oh my god.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
I looked ahead at the list for future rankings. Hunger Games takes its top spot for a little while longer.
Yeah. No, that was a huge box office
it was.
draw.
And of course, on the MCU domestic box office ranking, Iron Man 3 is number 3. I won't spoil number 2 for you, but I'm pretty sure if you had to narrow it down, you could take a good guess at it. So that is our...
Wait, I'm sorry. Like, currently, Iron Man 3 is
yes.
number 3?
Well, you got to keep in mind something here. So Avengers still number 1. We already knew that. But Iron Man 3 kind of was the biggest film after Avengers because it already had 2 other films prior to it. And not to knock anyone else, but Captain America 1 and Thor 1 and even Hulk, let's throw that in there too. They didn't perform the numbers they wanted to. They weren't as popular. So it kind of makes sense Iron Man 3 is going to be busting some walls here in terms of box office numbers. We're going to be... But we'll see... We'll see some other... no one knew what Iron Man 3 was going to be when it came out, though. They all expected Mandarin. They all expected this big, epic showdown. We're going to talk about that here today. So before we get into that, Ryan, how was your week? You have a good week?
I think mostly good. On the bad side, I'm getting very frustrated with my job and my lack of music in general. But on the good side, I had an audition for a.
I am excited to hear more about that when the time comes.
So that
I feel your pain, though. I'm frustrated with my work and my lack of writing. So, you know what? We should both start our own entertainment company and just see what happens.
I swear to God, if I could pay some rent while doing that, I would be right there. I would be right there with you.
With that, let's go ahead and get our synopsis here, real quick. So this one's not as funny or punchy as last week, I'm sorry. This movie was hard to do because it's a little all over the place. Almost as much as Iron Man 2, but in a different, weird kind of way. Well, I'll explain at the end. Tony tells his science bro Bruce, post-credits, about his life since he's had since the Avengers. His story takes us back to the 90s, cue generic 90s music. When he was the biggest fuckboy and aimed to stick it in all the ladies, while leaving AIM founder Aldrich Killian to raise the roof alone on New Year's. This is important because Killian will come back as the film's Bond villain to meet Pepper Potts over his latest advancement in neurobrain science. Tony is spying on Pepper and becoming rather recluse as he goes through PTSD and holds himself in his lab for Mark 42, which is all remote control, baby. While Tony deals with his mental problem, the offensive Middle Eastern stereotype, the Mandarin, formerly Eastern stereotype, terrorist attacks around the world. Not Norman Osborn tells Tony to stay out of this while he works with the government to Star-Spangle the Mandarin's ass. Tony, because he has to go disappoint Pepper. Things change when Happy Hogan is attacked. Taking a page from the WWE, Tony calls out Mandarin, claiming to have the bigger button, and even gives out his address. Using detective tech, which I want to get back to later, Tony discovers a similar terrorist attack has occurred in Tennessee. And with the whole world now outside Tony's door, a former colleague, Maya Hansen, arrives to try to help him. But Mandarin sends his choppers to huff, puff, and blow Tony's house into the ocean. Jarvis emergency jettisons Tony to Tennessee to deal with a young boy and get a snazzy new watch. Eventually, the Red Hot Chili Peppers arrive to try and hide the evidence of the terrorist incident Tony's looking into. He manages to get what he needs and escapes before he can't handle the spice anymore. Pepper, learning... I know, this is fun. Pepper, learning Tony is somehow still alive, confronts Maya, sorry, they look the same, about her sudden and mysterious disappearance. With what a twist when Maya is working for Killian, and they wanted Tony to solve their explosive problem. But Tony is busy visiting a hardware store to create makeshift super spy gear while the Mark 42 recharges. A sequence that would make Archer proud happens when allowing Tony to meet another twist. The Mandarin and the explosions were all fake news made by Killian. Why? Luckily, Tony will be taken captive soon to find out. Killian, now having captured Luke, Han, and Leia, reveals the terrorist attacks were actually misfired lab experiments who didn't quite exactly take to their extremis serum as intended. Damn you, Michael Bay. So they dressed up a hobo to take credit for the terrorist attacks in exchange for drugs. Now they're off to kill the president because the VP is totally down with their sickness. Tony first plan. Rhodey discovers where they need to go, and Tony calls in the house party. Tony and Rhodey arrive where Pepper is being held, along with the president, because he's still part of this whole thing, too. Let's see. They engage in combat with Killian's soldiers, while every Iron Man suit fights on their behalf. Explosions! Lasers! Excitement! Tony kind of rescues Pepper before she falls to her death. He fights Killian, who takes credit for being the real Mandarin. Cornered, Tony is then saved by another twist. Pepper is alive and extremis courses through her veins with much success. The president is saved, Tony blows up all his suits, then he figures out how to cure Pepper of her extremis before she Michael Bay's as well. He then undergoes surgery to remove the shrapnel from the first film and ceases to be Iron Man. Sort of. Not really. End movie?
Yeah, no, that wrapped it up there.
Yeah, so that movie kind of went a little bit of places. So
yeah, that movie went places. Yes.
Ryan, what do you think overall?
You know, it's really weird coming back and realizing that Phase 2 had kind of a rocky start.
Well, here's the thing. So Phase 1 was strongly in the Silver Age-ish characters, getting their introductions out of the way. Everything was very upbeat and positive. It was a fun arc of movies. The middle arc, as you can tell with most trilogies, is typically your dark arc. It's the one where things kind of hit the rails and get a little rough. Iron Man 3 kind of takes that route a little bit while still trying to also be funny. And I don't think it has the balance quite down. Thor Dark World goes full dark, and we'll talk about that next week. Winter Soldier, I think, hits this balance very well. And then Guardians kind of takes everything in a completely different direction, which we'll get into again later on. But, no, you can definitely tell they're going for a darker tone, which kind of ends with Ultron almost.
I get that. Yeah.
And everything kind of jumps back to being bouncy and fun again, which is, like I said, a little weird.
So I get that, and in terms of the Phase 2 arc, sure, I can buy that, but I feel like this movie, and don't get when I say this, don't take it as I completely hate the movie, because there were definitely some bits of it that I really enjoyed and liked watching. That being said, I feel like this was a pointless movie. I feel like it added nothing to Tony's story arc or to the MCU as a whole. I feel like it was just there.
I think if you isolate this movie from the MCU, it does kind of tell a good story. It ends the Iron Man arc. It ends Tony's self-destructive behavior. The problem becomes when you reinsert it back into the MCU, starting with Ultron, he goes back to being Iron Man. He goes back to all the many suits and all the tech and making Ultron himself, which I have many problems with. I'll get to later.
That's my complaint. Apparently he's dealing with PTSD, and the way he ends up going through it in this movie is by realizing that he's more than just the suit and this, that, and the other. Sure, okay, but all of the responsibility and anything, I feel like Tony learns nothing. There were so many good beats in the story, towards the whole being responsible for your actions and how your actions have consequences, how he calls out the Mandarin on live television and then gets his house blown up with Pepper almost dying because of that. There are great things about his arc in this story that could have been see, Tony's learning how to deal with responsibility and consequences. But instead of doing that, they kind of quickly tie it into, his PTSD is cured, and that still leaves him irresponsible enough to create Ultron for the second Avengers movie, and I'm like, why?
Well, I can kind of defend it, even though I don't want to, but I can kind of defend it in the sense that
Please help me understand.
Yes, it's irresponsible that he makes Ultron in Age of Ultron, but he's doing so with the best intentions in mind. Because remember earlier in that film, and we probably shouldn't discuss it too much detail beyond this, but in that film, Scarlet Witch does mess with his head more, and it does show him these dark visions of the future that come up. And as messy as that film is, it does kind of demonstrate that it's pushing his PTSD and his paranoia to another extreme, which is why he forces himself to make Ultron, why he thinks that the world needs this big savior that can do what he can't, what the other Avengers can't.
Okay, so
he doesn't expect it to go haywire, but that's how it starts.
So so I'm not gonna force you to defend Ultron. We'll do that in a couple weeks. But
I don't want to defend Ultron, but I want to at least defend the arc he's got going on here.
Well, so my question here is, what changes, in Tony's character from this movie to Ultron? What changes?
That's kind of the problem, and I think... well, no, hear me out. So, Mario, to the Nintendo games, is a mascot. He's not really much of a character. Mickey Mouse to Disney is more of a mascot. He's not much of a character. They don't really get their own sense of agency or purpose. To a lesser extent, I think Iron Man has become more of a mascot for Marvel. I think that they couldn't really give him a solid arc for these films because, well, there's a lot of reasons actually, but the main reason I'm thinking of is because he became the mascot of Marvel. You can't really do anything too weird or outlandish with him because if you do, he ceases to be the character that can be a good face for your product. Now, I disagree with that. I disagree. I disagree with the logic of having a mascot, but I think that's what kind of ended up happening to Tony Stark in general.
I disagree with that because Tony as a character has definitely developed and changed throughout the course of the MCU. It's not that he reached a certain point and then they kept him static because, well, otherwise he wouldn't be Iron Man. From his first appearance in Iron Man 1 to Civil War, there is a drastic character arc that Tony undergoes. And overall, I like Tony's growth and journey as a character. My complaint is that this movie does nothing to support that arc or to even further it. It's just like you could remove Iron Man 3 from the timeline and literally nothing would be different.
Well, I think the other problem that comes into play too is what I said back in Iron Man 2's podcast. Originally, John Favreau was going to have a trilogy going where the second one was going to be Demon in the Bottle, and the third one was going to actually be a Mandarin fight. He actually wanted to do Mandarin for the third film. But the studio took away his ability to do the Demon in the Bottle, and I'm going to guess the studio had a strong hand in how this movie played out, which ultimately ended up being what kind of shot it in the foot a bit.
So, okay, here's where I'm going to I may surprise you. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
The Mandarin is actually one of my favorite parts of the film.
Okay, I will agree. So I've talked to people about this. There's actually a guy I know at work who absolutely hates this film because of the Mandarin. And I defend it. I think that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too, but I think that doing the Mandarin differently has a lot of benefits to it. The first off being that you don't play into the stereotypes of the original character from the comics, which is probably a good idea during this current day and age.
Well, yeah.
The other thing, too, is that you don't kill off a major villain like the Mandarin if he's not in there. So if you still want to do that Mandarin storyline down the road, that's still an option when you have the tech and the writing to back up that kind of character. And I think the last and most important thing, too, is a twist like having Trevor Slattery be a fake Mandarin isn't something you can expect even as a comic book fan. And I think that these movies, they've done so much to kind of keep in line with the comics, but the important thing about a good comic book movie is it can still surprise and engage all the audience, not just the new people who never read a comic, but the people who know some of the comics. They are familiar with it, but if they can surprise even us, I think that's a pretty good step in my opinion.
I agree. I would say my rationale for liking the way they did the Mandarin is because I completely understand that they were not ready to introduce magic to the world as of yet, which makes a lot of sense. I'm glad they held off on that until they could give magic really its own fucking movie, rather than trying to tie it on to an Iron Man movie. It was just like, it's mainly Iron Man, but oh hey, by the way, there's also magic. Just throw that out there. No, I'm glad they did it the way they did. And B, the idea of the twist of having the Mandarin be fake and be a propaganda piece for Killian Aldrich and AIM, I thought was fucking fantastic. I thought
that was a brilliant plan.
I thought it lent a lot of credibility to Killian's like villain status. I mean, having Guy Pearce get to just go bonkers on a villain role and get to be like the most ridiculous villain I've ever seen was fantastic, but also having him be intelligent enough to be able to play shit like that from behind the scenes, eccentricity and intelligence, I'm like, please give me all of that. So I would say the villain and the fake Mandarin twist were my favorite parts of this movie.
I gotta say, I think that they did pull that Killian is definitely one of your stronger villains. When I first saw this, and before I saw it again, this most recent viewing, I didn't remember him well enough to think of him like that. I thought he was just another throwaway dude. But having seen it again, or paying attention to all the different details in his plan, it kind of came together. I'm like, you know what? That actually kind of fits, and he kind of reminds me of modern-day villains, so to speak, who use propaganda to kind of get across their dark plans. So, yeah. Going on top of that, though, other things I like, too, despite the fact that this isn't a really good arc for Iron Man in this film, he has a lot of good action scenes. There's a lot of good moments where he actually has a lot of fun on screen, including the infiltrate the house. I think that was pretty fun.
I thought that was pretty fun, too. I actually watched this with my roommate who was helping me, who is an avid Tony Stark hater. So he gave me.
Oh, I remember.
He also brought up a lot of gripes that he had with the film, which I was like, okay, I can see that. But like the main one he was saying was that this guy who walks around in a suit of armor, flying around, blowing shit up, how does he become stealthy enough to homemade MacGyver assassin like a mansion full of trained guards? That stretched the believability for him a little too far, and I was like, yeah. I mean, seeing Tony Stark MacGyver some shit was really cool, but at the same time, Tony is not a SHIELD agent.
No, but looking back at it, though, I don't think it was so much that he was being very skillful with it. And keep in mind, too, that in the beginning of the film, you do see him having training gear in his little laboratory, so I don't think he's He used the Iron Man suit primarily, yes, but I do think he's done some level of side training, even if it's nothing like super intensive, like, you know, what Black Widow probably goes through, or Captain America, but enough to get him in shape and enough to get him to at least be physically capable of doing some stuff. I don't think he'd be skilled enough to take out the whole mansion, no, but I think he could definitely do some damage.
Well, this also brings me to another gripe. The President of the United States is being essentially threatened. The United States is getting bombed, and all of these horrible, horrible things are happening. Where is SHIELD at?
I know that we haven't gotten to the fall of SHIELD yet. I think that happens just before the Winter Soldier takes place.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, SHIELD is still alive and kicking. They're still trying to protect the world. Where is SHIELD at? Why doesn't Tony, like literally Tony has these guys' numbers on a speed dial?
So
why?
You bring up an interesting point, and it's actually a problem I have with the entirety of Phase 2. So in this film, we don't have SHIELD show up when they should be there to stop terrorist attacks. In Thor Dark World, we should have the Avengers there to help out against this interdimensional bullshit going on. In Winter Soldier, why doesn't they just call up the Hulk to help bring down the helicarriers? I mean, all three of these movies in the second phase, good as they may or may not be, they all have that same question lingering of, we've already had the Avengers, why aren't the other Avengers, even for just 5 minutes, showing up to help out?
Okay, so for the Winter Soldier, I can defend this because Thor is literally on another planet, and the Hulk is purposefully losing himself in the world, because remember, once like his deal with Fury was, once he helped save the world, he was in the wind and left alone again. So nobody knows how to contact Bruce Banner. At least that's the idea.
But then Ultron shows up, and he's there at the very beginning.
That's true. I don't know why.
I don't know. So yeah, Phase 2 has a lot of problems. I'm not going to say it's the best
Phase 2 has
It has good movies. It has good movies. It has good moments with even in the bad movies. But Phase 2 has problems. I'm not going to deny that.
And that's actually what's kind of throwing me for a loop. And here, like, I feel like the reason that we kind of look at Phase 2 with rose-tinted glasses is because, sure, we had Iron Man 3, and it was just another Iron Man movie, and I was, like, fucking 22, so I was young and stupid, so I was just like, hey, yeah, this is a lot of fun. The Dark World came out, and I was like, all right, there were some problems with this movie, but it was really cool, and Thor's throwing his hammer around, and it's really fun and awesome. Yay, 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 yay. And then Winter Soldier happened. And I was like, this is the best phase ever. And then Guardians came out, and I was like, holy shit, this is the best phase ever. And then Ultron came out. So I feel like the badness of the first two movies kind of balances out with the holy shit, knocked it out of the park status of the last two movies, which is why we kind of don't remember it as accurately as we should.
Right, and I think when we get to Phase 3, are in there yet, or what? I'm looking forward to getting to those again, just to see if those still hold up to scrutiny, or if we're going to see problems with those we didn't see the first time viewing. Because a lot of the Phase 3 films I only saw once. I haven't had a chance to go back and see them again.
Yeah, I mean, what? You got Doc Strange, Civil War. Oh my god, Civil War. Jesus.
So you might notice, everybody, we're not talking about Iron Man 2 very much, because I'm not going to lie, there's really not a whole lot to discuss.
You mean Iron Man
it just
3?
kind of goes in different directions. It goes in different directions throughout the entire film, and it's just kind of hard to really nail down a good discussion point beyond the Mandarin twist and the arc of Tony Stark that doesn't quite really have an end to it. Everything else is just kind of incidental.
It would even be cool if there were like seeds and set pieces that added to the overarching story of the MCU. Like if we got a bit of world building leading towards like, oh shit, where's that Infinity Stone? Or that guy actually is from a different planet or some shit. Okay, cool. But it doesn't even do that. It's like...
Well, I want to say
it's like Iron Man 2. It's like my... What happened?
Well, I think they pulled back from the world building in Iron Man 3 to focus on just Iron Man after what happened with Iron Man 2, and considering how big a role he had in Avengers, it's like, okay, we've done a lot of world building, he's done his team up, let's just pull him back for a minute and just see, and let's just show what life is like for him now after Avengers. And I think that's a good concept to hit, it's a good premise, it just didn't land the execution very well.
Yeah, it's a good concept to hit, but then you have to hit it. Like I'm okay with them not having like crazy shit about like the entirety of the universe in this particular movie. That's fine, but you gotta do what you're setting out to do. Then, like if you're removing stuff off your plate and saying instead of doing these 5 things, I'm gonna do these 2 things really well, you have to do those 2 things really well. You can't fuck up because then you have nothing to fall back on and you have no excuse. We had 2 hours to give a good Tony Stark story and arc, and I'm like, where's his growth? What happens to him? What was he doing? I don't know.
So before we get into the review roundup, I do want to hit a few things in the film that I'm discussing that are good. They're not going to be full-blown discussions, but just a few bullet points that are just fun, cool things in the film that I really liked. Because I don't want to be overly negative. I mean, I don't hate this film by any means, but I will admit it has problems. First off, I like what they do with Pepper Potts in this movie. She doesn't get a lot to do, but the 2 things I really love that she got to do, she got to put on the Iron Man suit once, which I think is long overdue. In the comic, she becomes I think she becomes Iron Maiden. The suit on for like a minute. It's really good. And following up that with enhanced Pepper Potts at the end, a little unnecessary, but I think it still gives a good, cool shot and a good little like rescue moment. So I enjoyed that.
Extremis version of Pepper Potts was fantastic. No lie, like it was 90 seconds of holy shit. I've never been so attracted to Gwyneth Paltrow in my life. So yeah,
she was quite hot there.
yeah.
I couldn't resist that. Okay. The other moment I want to mention too, real quick, is crap. I had there for a second, too. Shit, what was it now? I had it in my notes. Give me 2 seconds to look at my notes again. Pepper. Oh, right. So, I mentioned it in the synopsis, I want to bring it up again. So, when Tony is investigating where the other explosion is, he's using his computers in Jarvis to get all the information, recreate the crime scene, and basically be detective for like a good solid 10-15 minutes, right?
Yep.
I love that scene a lot, and the reason why is because that's what Batman should be doing. I am mad at every Batman film that never shows him being a detective. It takes Tony Stark 5 minutes. That's all you need in a Batman movie is 5 to 10 minutes of detective work. And I'll be like, okay, he's a detective and he's doing cool shit. It's great. That's all I wanted, and this looked really good. They did a good job with it. I liked it.
Alright, so I agree with you that they should definitely focus more on Batman, the world's greatest detective, in the movies. Absolutely, 100%. However, I don't think Batman needs a fucking supercomputer to recreate the crime scene to figure out what the fuck happened. I think he would go there, he would pull out a few gadgets and be like, okay, it's this. Let me go over here and check out what the fuck is going on in Tennessee. I don't think
he needs a full supercomputer, but remember in the Batman Arkham games, he does have detective mode, which basically is the same thing.
That's fair. He does have that.
And then, I kind of like Rhodey in this movie. He gets a lot more to do in this one than he did in Iron Man 2. I don't like that he has the Iron Patriot armor. I get it's a good joke, but that's Norman Osborn's suit, and I'm never going to see it as anyone else's because he's a skeezy sleazebag. But they give Rhodey enough fun stuff to do that he's fun to just kind of have on screen for a bit. I wish they gave him more stuff to do.
Yeah. I mean, Rhodey's on point. I love Rhodey. That's my guy.
Those are the positive. Oh, and of course the house party protocol. I can't say that's a bad scene. That was fun, without question.
It was cool. I'd
watch it again.
There are a lot of really cool set pieces in this scene. A lot of really cool action pieces. The one of the ones that stick out for me is when Tony has to catch the 13 people falling out of the sky. That was a boss-ass scene! Like, that was really cool!
And it ends with a great punchline of him just getting hit by a car and you find out, oh, that's not really him.
Just like, oh shit, is he dead? No, he's fine. I'm like, yes.
Do we have any other positive notes for the film at all, or do we want to move on to the review roundup?
Honestly, I can't think of anything else good. There were good things. It's just, yeah.
It's just nothing really sticks out beyond that. So okay. So according to the Tomato Meter, critics gave it an overall 80, and the audience gave it a 78. Let's look at some reviews. Let's see. Do I have my usual? I have Kenneth Turin. I've read his before. By even posing questions of identity, the film creates the kind of jeopardy we can believe in. And for a superhero movie, that is an accomplishment in of itself. Let's see.
Alright.
Is Roger Ebert still alive when this one came out? I don't remember. I don't see his name on here, so I'm thinking he might not be. So, that was the last Roger Ebert, last movie, it looks like. Rest in peace. So let's move on to Peter Rayner. No, I'm not going to read that one. Let's go to Renee Rodriguez. What is the Skype sounding really bad?
No. You looking at one and, oh dear God, I'm not going to read that. That was sounded real bad.
I just saw it. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to read that. So from the Miami Herald. Just like he does with those crummy Sherlock Holmes movies, Downey elevates this rather flimsy material with his sheer presence. Again, I can't argue that one. Robert Downey Jr. definitely has a fun performance here.
That's true.
Anne Hornaday from the Washington Post has a negative review. From its anxious protagonist and the battered metal sheaths he dons to save the world to the clattering, fiery mayhem that ensues metronomic predictability. Iron Man 3 is less a movie than a final war whoop let loose before the utter exhaustion sets in.
I feel like he tried real hard to sound real smart in that review.
She definitely made it sound like this movie was a limp dick, basically.
I'm more like throwing shade at the reviewer because
I know.
Okay, sure.
Last one, a positive review from J.R. Jones' The Chicago Reader. This installment actually flirts with satire, setting its hero in a can on a vengeful mission against a mad, bearded jihadist before yanking the rug out from under the neocon storyline. There are some good laughs as well. So overall,
that's accurate.
So overall, a movie with a twist. Some people didn't like it for very confusingly worded reasons. Others, they're okay with it. I'd say overall, yeah, I had fun with it. It definitely doesn't hold up like it used to. I think there's some things I'd change, but I would have to change a lot. But let's move on to our next segment, which is our listener question of the week. I have to bring up Tumblr, actually, Ryan, because guess what? I have 2 answers to last week's question.
Yes!
Tumblr! I was very happy to read them because we haven't gotten responses in quite a while, not even cut-in responses. I feel bad about that. But we have them, and I'm excited to get to them. Let me bring them up on my phone real quick, because it's easier that way, I think.
Let's hear them. I am excited.
Alright, so last week's question, Mariah, if you remember, what supporting characters in the MCU deserve to have bigger roles? I thought that was a very fair question, considering we just showed a bunch of supporting characters in Avengers.
Yep.
According to Mr. DK3, Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes. I wouldn't mind seeing a buddy movie with those two, especially if...
oh my god, a buddy cop movie between the Falcon and fucking and the Winter Soldier? Yes, well, I would pay money for that.
Especially because if Bucky does take over for Cap after Infinity War, that's a perfect combo right there. You got new Cap and updated the updated Falcon. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that. Let us do that.
Alright, this next one is from... I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pronounce this correctly. So I'm going to just give my best shot. Isala Crimosa.
Huh.
And I'll put all these up in the video version for those listening audio only. I apologize. Jane Foster and Loki. That's a weird combination. To be fair, I'm not opposed to more Jane Foster, especially because in the comics, I think she does take on the mantle of Thor for a little while, if not still currently. I would like to see... I'd like to see it'll be good, but I wouldn't be opposed to an attempt.
Okay, thank you guys for your answers. We really appreciate your feedback. Please, we want to make this as interactive as possible, so please give more answers to the questions.
Yep, if we get any more answers, I'll cut them in here. But after that, Ryan, what supporting characters do you want to see get a bigger role in the Marvel Universe?
Jane Foster. I mean, sorry. Honestly, I truly want to see a Black Widow spinoff. We were starting to get a peek at the Black Widow program in Agent Carter, and I was so goddamn excited for it. They were building. I can't remember her name, but they were really building her to be almost like Peggy's nemesis, which was really cool because literally the only person that could probably keep up with Peggy Carter was a spooky-ass Russian spy that may or may not have, genetic enhancements, which was really cool. I thought it was really awesome. So I would love to not only get more of Natasha Romanoff's story, but really take a deep look into the Black Widow program and what that means.
Well, it might do you good to know, then, that there are discussions at the moment for Marvel to put a Black Widow solo movie out. I mean, it's not surprising there should be something like that. But the targeted release date, from what I'm reading, is 2020.
Yeah.
Phase 4. I would argue that's like 7 or 8 years a little too late, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, now, if they are aiming for Phase 4, what could be very interesting would be to, and this is not saying anything against Scarlett Johansson because I love her and I love what she's done with the role, but if Phase 4 is all about phasing out the old Marvel heroes and introducing a new cast, it would be really, really cool if they're going to do a Black Widow movie and introduce a new Black Widow. A young girl that is actually a part of the resurrected Black Widow program that's been started back up in secret, and we get to learn about that shit. Oh, that would be really cool.
Ryan, don't break my heart. Scarlett Johansson's my Hollywood crush. Don't break my heart.
I mean, I love her. I love her to bits. I really do. I don't know why they're making her blonde. That's fucking weird, but I love her to bits. I'm just saying.
Blonde Black Widow's weird. I don't like it.
Blonde Black Widow is odd.
It's weird.
It's really odd.
Like I'm not gonna say I hate it. I'm not gonna say I hate it, but it's just weird when you're used to the other Marvel thing.
But I'm just saying, if the main like thesis of Phase 4 is to really introduce brand new folk, then that would be a really cool way to do it.
As for my supporting character pick, I'm not opposed to a Black Widow and or Hawkeye movie, but I want to do something different, obviously. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say I want to see a War Machine movie. I think that he's been the longest supporting character aside from Pepper Potts, and I want to see him get his own spin at the wheel. I think if Iron Man is going to be done, at the end of Infinity War, the stage is open. Let's see it.
So here's my problem with that. Like, War Machine, like, his entire story arc has been so intrinsically tied to the United States military, and it makes sense because he's War Machine, but I feel like he wouldn't have enough agency as a protagonist, because ultimately Colonel James Rhodes has to do what the government is telling him to do. That's been his entire modus operandi, like, for the entire movie.
Well, you are right, but remember a couple things. First off, the Infinity War could change a lot of stuff. The status quo is going to be uplifted, I hope. And with that, something different could happen for all these characters, including Rhodey. But a more specific thing that could happen is with the introduction of the X-Men, and with the introduction of Doctor Doom and other different Fox-based entities, the government may need to work on dealing with mutants. And who better to deal with that and not be Thunderbolt Ross than good old Rhodey, who can go in and maybe make peace with them. I know. Long shot.
Long shot.
I'm optimistic. Our next week's question, Ryan. So actually, at the end of Iron Man 3, or between Iron Man 3 and Thor 2, Marvel launches its first TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents! Sorry.
First season was a bit rocky. It gets better, and then it kind of goes all over the place. But listener question of the week is, of the Marvel TV shows, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the Netflix to the Inhumans, which of these shows do you watch, and which is your favorite, and why?
All right. That's a good one, especially throwing in the Netflix shows. Ooh, buddy.
Hey, I'm leaving the door open for everything.
I like that.
So,
no, I like that. That's a good question.
So put your answers in the comments, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. You can even email them to us at evacstation@gmail.com. Out of breath there for a minute. Ryan, are you ready for everyone's favorite section, the Trivia War?
Oh, God. I won last time by the skin of my teeth.
Nicole saved your ass.
She really did.
So for Phase 2, Ryan, we need to come up with the reward and or punishment for the winner and or loser. So last arc, we had, or I guess last phase, it was a punishment for the loser to buy the winner a shawarma. I have yet to make good on that, but I just need to know when you want that shawarma and where to get it from, and I'll put the order in. As for this season, I haven't settled on anything yet, Because Season 2 doesn't really have a shawarma thing, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So I'm open to suggestions. My leading suggestion right now is that the loser has to write a one-page report on why Ant-Man is the best superhero. Whether they believe it or not. That's what they have to write.
Alright, okay, that'll be good.
You want to go with that one, Ryan?
Oh, shit. Oh, that'll stretch my reasoning capabilities.
Hey, Ryan, just so you know...
I mean, he's good, but the
Just so you know, I have some good fodder for that, so I'm excited. If I lose, I have at least a plan. So,
oh man! All right, yeah. All right, I'm down for that.
all right. So let's begin with our first questions. Easy mode starting for Thor: The Dark World. Ryan, how well do you remember this movie?
Not very, honestly.
Well, here we go with your easy question then. Ryan, who is the main villain of Thor: The Dark World?
Hey! I'm probably gonna mispronounce it, but it is Malekith? Malekith?
I will go with it. It's
Dark Elf.
Malekith, but
The
you're
Dark Elf.
close. I'll accept it.
Malekith.
I know what you're aiming for.
Yeah, you knew.
Okay, Ryan, what is my easy question?
Alright, your easy question is along a similar vein. What is the name of the home of the Dark Elves? Their home realm.
Svartalheim.
You are correct, sir. That is indeed the answer.
Ryan, for your medium question, where's Malekith from?
Sir. I do believe he's from Svartalheim.
I want to say he's
do
from
believe
Brooklyn,
he's from
actually,
that
but I'll
realm.
give it to you. Okay.
Alright.
Well, these questions are certainly going to go well.
Uh,
Ryan, what's my medium question?
This is just these are rough questions, man. Alright, it is what. Wow, I actually wrote down the answer in the midst of the question.
If you want to reword it real quick.
Haha. Yeah, no. It's okay. I can mentally edit it. What Infinity Stone is featured in Thor: The Dark World?
Okay, so I know they call it the Aether. I'm trying to remember which stone it is.
Mhm.
It's the red one. Let me go over all real quick. There's the Time Stone, it's green. Power Stone, that's purple, right? That's the purple one? You're not going to tell me, okay. You're not gonna tell me.
Possibly. Maybe.
There's the blue one, which I believe is the crap, what was that one? That was the space. Soul is orange, we haven't seen it yet. Yellow is mind. Red, I want to say, is reality?
Is that your final answer?
I want to say it is.
You are correct, sir. The Aether is indeed the reality stone.
I had to go over them all real quick.
And the question... the question I wrote was, what reality stone is featured in this movie?
I mean, if you want to give me the 2 points, that's fine.
I'm such a professional podcaster.
Ryan, it's been 100 years that we've been doing this. We're going to make mistakes.
Oh my god.
Like all these tech issues we've been having.
Oh my god.
Okay, Ryan. The hardest question I can come up with for this movie. Number 3.
Alright.
What is the motivation of Malekith and the Dark Elves? Why are they doing what they do?
Huh. Okay, this was actually kind of tricky. I do...
This is a testament.
So
I want
I'm
to say,
pretty-
everybody, this is a testament to how good this movie is and how well established the villains are.
Damn, sir. Damn. I'm pretty sure that Asgard went to war against the Dark Elves and Malekith is running at them for revenge. I also do believe that there's a certain there's a certain time frame in which all of the realms are going to be aligned, which makes it the perfect time for him to use the Aether, which is a weapon that he developed in order to possibly destroy Asgard / take over the realms, fucking something along those lines.
I'll give you a point, but I mean, his motivations are really vague, so it's kind of hard to nail him down perfectly. According to what I read, to make sure I actually got it word for word, how they say it in the movie, he wants to send the universe into darkness, which basically translates to bring an end to the universe. So, you were kind of there, but not quite landing it, so I'm going to give you a point for it.
I was scattershotting there. That's fine. I'll take the point. I'll take.
Like I said, very poorly established villain in that movie.
God damn it, Christopher Eccleston. I really like him.
We'll talk more about that next week.
Right. Yeah, I know. So your hard question, and this one actually might be a little difficult, but it'll be cool if you get it. What director was originally slated to direct The Dark World, but then backed out due to creative differences?
I know Edgar Wright was Ant-Man, and he backed out. I don't remember who did Thor and backed out. I know the current director, or the director they ended up with, was a guy who did a couple Game of Thrones episodes. But as for who was there, Okay. Can I ask, or at least confirm, whether or not they actually brought Kenneth Branagh back, or did they not bring him back at all?
They didn't actually bring him
Okay,
back.
I didn't think it was him, but I wanted to just make sure I wasn't thinking and not realizing I was wrong.
No, he actually had a scheduling conflict. Kenneth Branagh was one of the people they approached after this person backed out, but he couldn't do it because of scheduling conflicts.
Who else could it be? Okay, well, I'm going to scattershot myself here because I have no idea. But a director I'd love to see on Thor, and I don't think they're ever going to get, but I would have picked him. Guillermo del Toro. Why not? Let's just throw him in there.
Ooh, Guillermo del Toro. That would have been an interesting one.
That would
have been
really
a really interesting one. Unfortunately, that is incorrect.
Who would that be?
So the director they actually had originally slated to do this was Patty Jenkins. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because she directed the blockbuster hit Wonder Woman. And how badass would this movie have been had they just let her do what the fuck she wanted to do?
I guarantee you it probably would have been at least 5 times better. It probably would have had a lot more Lady Sif as well.
So much wasted potential.
Okay, so with that, Ryan beats me 4-3 with a 1-point lead, but it's still very early in the phase. We have at least 5 more movies to go. So Ryan, it's time for the last segment of our little podcast here, which is the list. We rank every Marvel movie from the best to the worst to determine what the best Marvel movie is. Last time we ranked Avengers as number 1, with Hulk taking on the bottom. I could continue making a joke, but I'll give us a week off for that. So, Ryan, let me get my list out here. I wrote it down, so I have it on paper. Ryan, where would you place Iron Man 3, or do you want me to take a stab at it first?
I think I've been going first the past couple times, so I'll hear what you've got to say.
Okay. I think on a technical level, I like it better than Iron Man 2. I don't know if it's Yes, I think on a technical level, I think technically speaking, action, pacing, I like it better than Iron Man 2. I don't think it has a better narrative. I think it definitely falls apart in that third act, but I think it starts off really well. It has a good twist and some good ideas, but it doesn't execute them nearly as well as it could. But I would edge it out over Iron Man 2, but I cannot put it above Thor for any reason. I can't think of how it could be above Thor.
Wow. Okay.
Where were you thinking of putting it?
Alright. Honestly, I was gonna say I think we have a new power.
Really?
Like, while I do not hate this movie, while there are definitely elements of the movie that I enjoyed, when I look at the overall objectives of the movie, like what it was going for in and of itself, what value it had to add to Tony's character arc and to the MCU in general, I feel like it just kind of dropped the ball. Like, as I said earlier, you can take Iron Man 3 out of the timeline entirely and not miss a beat. Like, not miss a single beat. So, I feel like...
To an extent, we could do the same kind of thing to Hulk and Iron Man 2, though. Hulk kind of no longer really has relevance in the MCU overall.
Not necessarily. Not really. So the Hulk doesn't have a whole bunch of relevance in other than introducing the Hulk, but that's still in order that a quote unquote soft reboot origin story. Fuck it, whatever. You know what I mean. Iron Man 2 actually shows Tony growing, like actually shows him dealing with some of his stuff, and like shows a marked difference at the end of it that carries out throughout the rest of his movies. And it also introduces the like Tony cracking the energy produced by the Tesseract, and like Tony actually changes the world in terms of like energy production in Iron Man 2. So Iron Man 2 is actually a big thing that happens in the MCU. Like, the face of the world actually changes when that happens. So I would definitely say you can't just take out Iron Man 2, because shit happened there. I feel like Iron Man 3 reduced its focus, tried to pick a few things to do well, and didn't do them. Whereas the Hulk picked a few things to do well and did them well. Like, the Hulk was focused on reintroducing Bruce Banner and having it be a good summer action blockbuster that you could go and just watch shit blow up and watch the Hulk beat the shit out of Abomination. It knocked both of those things out of the park. It didn't try and do anything else. And that was okay. That, like what it set out to do, it did. I feel like Iron Man 3 set out to do something.
You know what? I'll concede to you, because you are comparing to Hulk, and you're making some very valid points, and you know what? I'm going to go with it. I'm going to put Iron Man 3 at the bottom. I think you actually do provide a pretty good case for this one.
Alright. Very good.
I do feel bad, though. I kind of like calling Hulk the power bottom, and now I no longer get to do that.
You know what? I think Tony has that. I think Tony has that Igor suit that's meant to support things from the bottom. So that's your new power bottom there.
I mean, he does have the Hulk Buster too, so.
Oh God, the Hulk Buster's like the best power bottom. Anyway, why don't you go ahead and close us out there, Aaron, please, before I say something dumb.
If you have a favorite Marvel movie that you want to discuss in a future podcast, please let us know in the comments below, evacstation@gmail.com, or on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. Tell us what your favorite is, and we might read your reasons why on the podcast aloud. Next week, Ryan, we have Thor Dark World. Boy, am I excited to talk about Thor Dark World.
This will be an interesting movie. God damn it.
I have things I remember from that movie that I like. I don't want to talk about it now because it's a whole podcast away. But we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.